Welcome to Property Talk from Louise's Lounge. My name is Louise Heatley and I'm Managing Director of Exclusive Links Real Estate. With over 17 years in the real estate industry, I know a few things and I know a few people. And through our podcast series, I look forward to sharing with you some insights into the Dubai real estate market, some interesting topics, some guest attendees, and it's also an opportunity for you to meet some of our team. On today's episode, we have Nita Maru, who's a UK qualified solicitor and the founding and managing partner of TWS Legal Consultancy, DMCC, an established law firm offering services including DIFC Wills, DIFC Foundation, matrimonial, property matters, and more. The firm's mission is quite simply to offer peace of mind to her clients and protection for their families and their assets in the UAE. Nita holds a legal consultancy license from the Government of Dubai Legal Affairs Department and the Ruler's Court in Dubai.
So thank you so much, Nita, for joining me today on the couch and sharing us all your knowledge. So there's been some recent changes in the wills. So does this mean expats still have to register wills here for all their assets locally?
Despite the new reforms that have been announced in the last 2 years, I strongly believe and feel that it's very, very important for an expat in this jurisdiction to have a will as evidence of their intentions. Okay. And there are several reasons for that, and I'll share some of them. Yeah. Firstly, if you have children, it's very, very important to specify in a will who you wish to have as your permanent or temporary guardians. If you own property here, as UAE law applies to real estate in this jurisdiction, it's very important to specify where you and to whom you want that asset to go to. With a will, you have the freedom to distribute your assets as you wish. Okay. So if you want to make specific gifts to a beneficiary or to a charity, you can do that with a will. What I feel is very important about having a will in this jurisdiction particularly is that from a practical point of view, it's very important for the courts to be able to see and use a will which is written in black and white, it's valid, and it's got all your intentions in there so that they can deal with the administration or the execution of that will with ease.
It makes it easier if they know specifically and they see it written down what you wanted.
Exactly. And what I would say is that with a will, which is evidence of your intentions, it's in black and white, this would avoid family disputes, costly court battles and delays. And ultimately, it gives you peace of mind.
Yeah, for sure. And the family's protection, as you say. What are the options for wills in the UAE?
So for non-Muslims, I would say that there are two main options. And firstly, you've got the DIFC Wills. And that regime was introduced in May 2015.
Oh yeah, and that long?
The intention behind the DIFC Wills regime or the registry was to allow non-Muslims the freedom to distribute their assets as they wish. It's based on common law principles similar to that of England and Wales. Okay. You could have a will, it's prepared and drafted in English. The criteria would be you have to be above the age of 21, you have to be a non-Muslim, and we could draft a will, a DIFC will for you for your assets in the UAE. You don't have to be resident here, so you could live abroad. So during the COVID time and even now, we take instructions and we draft and register wills virtually for expats that are living abroad, and a lot of international investors are buying here, so we are helping them with drafting their DIFC wills as well.
It's more for their real estate assets?
Yes, for their real estate assets. And also what I would say is that there are different types of DIFC wills, but the common will that we prepare is the full will, and that covers all your assets and can also cover the aspect of guardianship as well. The other option is the Abu Dhabi will, which is a will that's prepared in English and in Arabic, and that was introduced a few years ago by the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department as well.
Okay. Is there a difference in cost for people? Is there quite a difference between registering a Abu Dhabi will as a DIFC will?
Yes, there is a difference in the fees for sure, and the fee for registering an Abu Dhabi will is a lot lower than the DIFC. Over the years, I'm always asked about why the fee for the DIFC wills registration is quite high, but my answer to that would be, well, system of executing and enforcing the DIFC will, it's tried and tested. The DIFC wills work. There is certainty of judgments, and there are precedents now through the courts that the wills do work. And actually the probate fees are front loaded in the DIFC fee. As a firm, I can speak for ourselves at TWS. We have handled and enforced a number of DIFC wills through the court, so I know that the wills work.
Okay. Do you do either? You do Abu Dhabi will registration as well and DIFC
yes,
wills?
Yes, we do both. And just coming back to the fee aspect of the DIFC will, what I would say is that the cost, the cost of registering a single DIFC will would be 10,000 dirhams, and for a couple it would be 15,000 dirhams.
Doesn't seem a lot though if you're actually really protecting your assets and your protection. It doesn't seem that much, really.
No, and what I would say is that the fee is actually nominal, in my opinion, compared to what you would pay if you did not have a will.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, to protect you and to have it all organised and sorted than going through probate and disputes and things later.
Exactly, because in my experience of practicing here in the UAE for more than a decade, the amount of cases that I've had to deal with where expats have passed away without a will, and the costs involved and the family disputes and then the stress and the trauma. I think the cost of preparing a will or a DIFC will is very nominal compared to that.
You can't put sometimes a cost on peace of mind
no,
though if you've got your assets in Dubai. So if we look at international assets, so say for myself, say I was in Dubai and I had property here, but I also owned property elsewhere, would I be able to cover that in a will or a DIFC will here?
In my personal opinion, I would not structure all my assets in one global will. Okay. So if I take myself as an example, I have assets in London and I've got property and a business accounts in Dubai. I have a separate will in the UK, and I have a separate will for my assets in the UAE. I would have a separate will in every jurisdiction. You have fixed real estate.
Okay, yeah, just to cover exactly where your assets are. So during the last 2 years with COVID, we always have to touch on this topic. Has there been any impacts on registration of wills for expats during this last couple of years?
Well, during COVID, I have to say we had a massive spike in inquiries for wills, and there was a huge demand. And overnight, so many expats wanted to get their wills drafted and prepared literally in a matter of hours or overnight.
Wow.
I recall working from home during that time, and I actually saw my husband and my daughter less than me working in the office, because I was just trying to cope with the demand for wills. Expats, I have to say, suddenly realised that life is unpredictable, it's very fragile and uncertain, and they wanted to quickly get their affairs in order and seek protection for their family. So I have to say that since COVID, a lot of expats who are thinking of getting a will are now actually getting round
to
preparing
them
a will.
to do that,
Yes.
and to actually think, gosh, we need to, as you say, things are unpredictable in life. Okay, that's interesting. And do people have to be here in Dubai? Because I was thinking initially COVID, maybe some restrictions on that, traveling, but do they have to come to Dubai to register their will, or can they do it from overseas?
It's funny because during COVID, that's when the DIFC had introduced the virtual registration system, which is absolutely amazing.
Right.
So since then, we have been helping expats that live abroad or international investors that are buying properties here or setting up companies here to register their wills, and they don't have to come here. So we can actually take full instructions via Zoom or Teams online, and we can draft and prepare their wills, liaise with them virtually, and even get their wills registered virtually as well. So there's no need for them to come here.
So there's no restrictions. It's not difficult for them. It's just that initial outlay of investing again.
Exactly.
To cover your interests. So can we discuss a little bit about the guardianship? You mentioned it about the DIFC wills covering your assets and covering guardianship. So what's the importance of covering that in the will?
Okay, so I'm a mother of 3 children myself. And I love my children, I love my family, and one aspect of the will which I think is very, very important to cover if you have children, the permanent guardians and the temporary guardians, because for me, children are the most valuable and greatest asset anyone would have. So I would cover both permanent and temporary guardians, and temporary guardians is a clause that I'd have in the will to cover the eventuality should anything happen to both parents together. So that's very important. But most importantly, I'd want to specify in the will who I want as a guardian, because I would not want to trigger any automatic appointment under the law.
So do the guardians that you appoint, do they have to live in Dubai?
So temporary guardians, it's highly recommended from a practical point of view that they live in Dubai or the UAE. Permanent guardians, they can live anywhere in the world.
Okay, yeah. Great, yeah. If you own property jointly with your partner, so a couple are married, do they both have to have wills? You did mention about a couple having a will.
So as UAE law applies to real estate in this jurisdiction, and to avoid any fixed distribution of assets being triggered under the local law, I think it's very important for a couple to have mirror wills drafted, because in that will they can specify that they want their share of that asset to go to the surviving spouse. So it's very important to have mirror wills, like DIFC mirror wills, drafted. Another option would be that they can look at gifting their share of the property to each other or to their children, and that attracts a low transfer fee, which is very, very popular these days. So we've been very busy with gifting of assets as well. That's something you can do during your lifetime, but there is an eligibility criteria to fulfill for that. Another option would be to structure your assets under a foundation, such as a DIFC foundation, which is very, very popular as a wealth structuring solution and tool these days to place your assets as well.
I think there's a lot of layers and a lot of different situations. So if somebody wants to actually go through things with you on their own individual circumstances, that's an option. They can get in touch with you.
Yes, sure they can. I mean, what's important for us is that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution for every client that comes in. Everyone's circumstances, family situation, the dynamics of the relationships and the asset base is different. So what we would create, whether it's a will or another estate planning tool such as a foundation, curated in a bespoke manner
for each individual client. So has there any DIFC wills? You said your firm have registered a lot. Has there any actually been enforced? Has it gone through that process?
Yes, we have hands-on experience of handling DIFC wills and the enforcement. We've had a number of expats that have passed away with that type of will. One of the cases, a very high net worth individual passed away with a DIFC will. He had a large asset base in the UAE, ranging from multiple bank accounts, sole joint names, properties in his sole and joint names, and shares in a business, Free Zone and LLC, and the will worked, the will was enforced, and the rightful beneficiaries, as per his will, inherited the estate. So it was a straightforward process which we dealt with ease.
Wow, okay, that's good to know. And what are the options? We've talked a lot about, you said non-Muslims doing DIFC. What are the options for Muslim expats?
Okay, so for Muslim expats, they cannot do a DIFC will or Abu Dhabi will, unfortunately, because those two options are for non-Muslims. They could look at preparing or having a Sharia will drafted, but there are some limitations with that will. What is popular with Muslims is having a gifting process put in place where they can gift during their lifetime their share of their property to their spouse or to their children. And that attracts a low transfer fee, so that's very popular. Another popular option these days is structuring their assets or consolidating their assets under a foundation such as a DIFC foundation, because it's a great legacy planning tool, and it's available actually to both Muslim and non-Muslim expats. They don't need to be living here, they could be living abroad, but if you've got properties, you've got shares in a business, and you want to secure the future for your children and your spouse for future generational planning, it's a great alternative wealth structuring tool.
That DIFC foundation, so that's for both expats and Muslims. Okay, that's a good option.
And the setup costs are very low. There's no corporate tax. The actual foundation process, actually, it avoids the local court process as well.
Okay, so it's another
great
good
for
alternative.
legacy planning.
Okay, that's good to know. And with regards to wills, can individuals draft their own, or should we be? Of course, we're going to plug TWS Legal Consultancy, but is there an option of people just drafting their own, or is that?
I don't believe at all in homemade or do-it-yourself wills. I've been practicing in this field for many years, and I've often seen clauses missing, mistakes in the wills, a beneficiary signing the will, and I just would not go down that path.
It's not worth it to get things wrong. It's really not worth a piece of
paper. You know, I've had clients that we've prepared DIFC wills for, and their friends or family members have come in and have copied the will. But what they don't realise is that the situation's different, everyone's asset base is different, and you just can't do that.
It's too big a decision, it's too big a thing to really put on paper and protect, not to use a lawyer.
Exactly, and what I would say is that if you're looking at having a will prepared and drafted, it's very important to instruct a lawyer that is well versed with the UAE law, knows what they're doing when it comes to drafting wills. The individual lawyer should be properly licensed and regulated by a proper law firm that's licensed by the Government of Dubai Legal Affairs Department. I myself, I am a DIFC Wills registered draftsman, and I've been part of the DIFC Wills working panel, and my firm has a vast experience in drafting wills and administering estates. This process of drafting a will, one really does need to do their homework and due diligence and invest in this process wisely.
I'm sitting here now thinking, I think I'll have to give you a call and get my will sorted. I'm sure there's lots of clients out there. I did it a long time ago, but nothing like what's available now. So yeah, I think that's going to be on my agenda. You've given us a lot to think about, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers to think about. So yeah, I'm sure people will get in touch and have questions of their own.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. That was very informative. And thank you for being part of our podcast episode.
I have one final note to say, which is that if COVID has taught me anything, it's that time does not come back. So if you have children and if you have family and you have assets here, I think you have to stop procrastinating and start planning for the future now.
I think it's that whole saying of tomorrow never comes.
Yes.
And it's, we put off things and we procrastinate, and it's just get it done. You don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
And make life easier for your succession that are
Exactly.
left. Yeah.
I always say it's never too early, but it's often too late.
Yeah. No, good tip.
Yes.
And yes, as I say, hopefully everybody will be sitting watching this going, let's get sorted, let's get our assets
No, I'll be
looked
happy
after.
to help. Our office line is 04 448 4284. If you want to email me, I'm very happy to answer any questions. You can email me on info@twslegal.ae, and our website is www.twslegal.ae. So very happy to help answer any questions on wills, inheritance, family,
Property matters,
property
matrimonial.
matrimonial. Very busy with matrimonial these days.
Oh gosh,
as well. And we're offering a free consultation on wills and inheritance matters.
Okay, that's great to know. And yeah, thank you very much for offering our audience those options. They'll keep you busy, I'm sure.
I'm overwhelmed at the moment.
Yes.
You're
just growing bigger.
Exactly.
You need more.
Exactly. And now with the expansion in the DIFC, it's great.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that TWS can now provide the full A to Z of wealth planning and inheritance planning solutions for our clients, right from wills to the DIFC Foundation.
It's great, I think, if somebody finds a company that they really established like
in-house.
yours,
It's all in-house.
and you're looking after everybody's interest, they can do everything in the one company.
So exciting times ahead, and I just feel very proud.
Yeah, very, very well done. Congratulations. And I'm very proud that you actually come to our episode today.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Property Talk from Louise's Lounge. I hope you've enjoyed the chat, and as always, if there's anything that you would like to hear about, you have any suggestions or feedback, please do get in touch, and we hope you tune in again.